YouTube has existed for a long while. Among the happy, sad, and questionable videos, there are some that are just weird, eerie, and even disturbing. Something to keep you up at night. In this video, I'll be covering an iceberg made by a user on Reddit called Morning Malice. I'll be skipping the first tier since that's how we do it, and let's go. Also, a huge warning, this video will get depressing and heavy real quick, so viewer discretion is advised. Sitting and Smiling. Sitting and Smiling is an entry that I have already talked about here on the channel. Sitting and Smiling was a series of live streams here on YouTube done by Benjamin Bennett. In total, there's 327 live streams of him doing exactly what the title said for hours. With such big number of live streams, a few weird incidents would appear, such as him out of nowhere breaking character and crying, someone trying to break into his house only for the burglar to be creeped out and leave, and even him peeing himself. Despite it being something weird to come across in the middle of the night, this is known as endurance art. Fantastic Adventures. Fantastic Adventures was a family channel owned by Michelle Hackney Hobson that gathered a whopping 700,000 subscribers. The channel is exactly what you could imagine. Family-friendly skits of what seemed to be a family having fun. But behind the scenes, it was worse than one could imagine. Michelle would abuse her adopted children, pepper spray them, starve them of food and water, lock them in a closet if they refused to act on video, and even beat them. This horror would come to an end when Michelle's real daughter, Megan, would find out what was going on through a confession of one of the children, which was recorded and shown to the police. An investigation would immediately take place, and Michelle would later be arrested and charged with 30 counts of child abuse, and she would die in a hospital 6 months later. Her two biological sons, Logan and Ryan Hackney, would also be arrested and charged with 7 counts of failing to report abuse of a minor, but those charges were later dropped. But later, they both were sentenced and jailed in 2023 for sexual misconduct with minors, and the channel would later be deleted by YouTube itself. Sad Satan. An internet classic for the wrong reasons. Sad Satan was a video game that supposedly released on the dark web, and was found by a user called ZK, who later would send a link to a channel called Obscure Horror Corner. This channel would record a 5-episode playthrough, eventually kickstarting its popularity that is still around to this day. The game was claustrophobic and empty, dark corridors with no lights nor objectives. The player could only walk, and while walking, disturbing sounds, photos of criminals, gore, and even would appear, with it ending with the player being stuck. This is just the original version, by the way. Sad Satan will get a lot of clones, with the most dangerous of them all appearing on 4chan by a troll pretending to be ZK, only to spread a different version that had even more disturbing images and malware. This game has already been proven fake. I'll save you on the boring details, but the creator gave an impossible Tor link to download the game, meaning that this was never meant to be downloaded to begin with. My Dead Great Grandma's Coffin. It's exactly what the title says. On October 29th, 2010, a channel by the name of DJ Daft Joey would post a video called My Dead Great Grandma's Coffin in My Own Backyard. In the video, Joey tells the viewers that his great grandma died in 1945, and eventually, the old cemetery where she was ended up closing due to poor maintenance. And with it costing a lot of money to relocate her to another cemetery, he decided to keep it in his backyard, outside from the public view. Bizarre and disgusting, yes. But we haven't reached the weirdest part yet. Upon opening the casket, the decomposing body was still in a good shape, despite the video being recorded 63 years later after she died. Something's fishy, I just can't prove it. Who is behind our face? One of the most intriguing videos in this tier. Who is Behind Our Face is a video posted in October 2008 by Olivier Desagazon, a sculptor that uses clay, hay, and paint to make his artistic performances. Some people understandably find this scary, but to me, this is just creative. Hi Walter, it's me Patrick. A classic 2009 video. Hi Walter, it's me Patrick is a skit about Patrick making a video for Walter where he talks about a woman that he met, only for the video to show a woman tied up in the bathroom screaming for help. This video alerted viewers due to how unexpected it was, to the point where theories were created, such as it actually being a real missing person, causing it to be reported to the police, who investigated and confirmed that this video was 100% staged. PlasmaMasterDon. PlasmaMasterDon was a YouTube channel of an elderly man named Don. Don would do covers and vlogs that gathered a huge amount of fans for its wholesome content. It was something different to watch during the pandemic, but everything came falling down in August of 2020. A post on a subreddit called Morbid Reality will tell that Don was actually a registered sex offender, with him being convicted on August 9th of 2019 after touching the private parts of a. This eventually would be seen by Nick Crawley, who then made a video unmasking PlasmaMasterDon, which thankfully gathered a lot of attention. Don would eventually die on December 21st of 2020 at a hospital from an illness. Brick through windshield. This is heartbreaking. Brick through windshield is a Russian video of a dashcam of a family's car. In the middle of a trip, a truck carrying bricks ended up passing on their left, where one of the bricks ended up hitting the windshield and hitting 29-year-old Olga Gajkovic, who was on the passenger side, in the head. The truck driver wouldn't notice and continue driving, and allegedly he would be stopped by police, but the outcome of the situation is unknown. It's a super heavy video. There's nothing graphic, but the audio, man, it's horrible. Take Care. Take Care is a boys vert video, an artistic channel based on what I think to be cryptic animations related to the artist and his struggles, with Take Care being the first of them. Take Care starts with a wholesome message. These are troubling times, my friend. During such tribulations, let us focus on the small victories, such as waking up at a reasonable hour, working out, ignoring the noises downstairs, and being productive. The camera then goes downstairs and shows what the creator quickly skipped on, a dark creature, before instantly getting realistic and walking closer to the camera, before making the following question. And it ends. This feels and doesn't feel threatening at the same time. To this day, this channel has 30 videos and I'm itching to cover it in the future. Body of a Pig. Another classic. A scary video recorded and posted by Devin Raymond, where he and his group were investigating a supposed haunted place. The camera would capture the audio of a spirit saying, "I have the body of a pig." There's literally not much to say about this video. Paria pipeline. Being a commercial diver is easily one of the scariest jobs on the planet. The Paria pipeline was an incident that happened to a group of 5 commercial divers hired by Paria Fuel Trading Company in Trinidad on February 25th, 2022. In order for the group to do maintenance on the pipes, those men had to work inside a hyperbaric chamber. But here's where the problems arise. The whole pipe was drained a month before they were hired. However, the divers didn't know that differential pressure was created. Upon removing an inflatable plug, a vortex sucked them into the pipe, where after minutes of excruciating pain and panic, they stopped in an air bubble done by the undulations of the bottom of the ocean. A saving grace. All of them sustained serious injuries. Christopher Bodram ended up risking his life with the few oxygen tanks found alongside them. He luckily was able to swim back to the hyperbaric chamber, where he later was rescued after swimming back for 3 hours. Upon being rescued, begged the team to rescue the other 4 men who were still alive, but the company refused to allow divers in due to it being dangerous, despite other commercial divers volunteering to do so. No one was rescued that day, with the company only wasting their precious time. They all died a slow death. Their bodies would eventually be recovered several days later, alongside with their GoPro, with Paria's lawyer allegedly saying that the company had no plan and no legal responsibility to rescue the divers. Charges would be filed for both companies, but in the end, no one was charged for their deaths. Possibly in Michigan. A short film that gave origin to one of the most used songs on TikTok. Possibly in Michigan is a film about Sharon and Janice, where Janice is being followed by Arthur, a cannibal who then chases her home and breaks into Janice's house. Janice calls Sharon, who then shows up and shoots the cannibal, and they cook and eat him. Allegedly, this short film was made to portray male violence against women. Like, I don't know what's wrong with this movie, but it doesn't fail to make me uneasy, I don't know why. MK Hike. This is the last video uploaded by a missing content creator. I've already covered this entry in my Unsolved Cases with Disturbing Backstories video. So, to put it shortly, MK Hike was the last video recorded by Kenny Veach, an extreme hiker that in one of his hikes ended up finding an ominous M-shaped cave that ended up scaring him so much. His comment about the M-shaped cave exploded, and people wanted him to go back to the Mojave Desert to find it again. Kenny would do it as said in a comment, and was never seen again. Or AZ. Well, there's only one way to find out. Why you never became a dancer. An infamous video with an AI version of a woman moving to the song of the band White House. This image was traced in 2023 by a Reddit user who concluded that the woman in the video was actually Reiko Takemura, one of the victims of Kiyoshi Okubo, a serial killer and who was sentenced to death by hanging. Dwain Weston. Dwain Weston was an Australian skydiver, base jumper, windsuiter, and a pioneer of acrobatic jumps that would unfortunately lose his life doing exactly what he loved. On October 5th, 2003, during a base jumping event called Go Fast Games, Dwain would attempt to fly over the Royal Gorge Bridge, while his friend, Jeb Corliss, would fly below it. Weston sadly would miscalculate the winds, causing him to strike a railing at approximately 200 km per hour, severing one of his legs. If this wasn't horrible enough, his parachute would deploy, almost causing his friend to crash onto him. Weston would eventually land on a rock, where he would bleed to death. Robert Helpmann. A mysterious channel that appeared in 2015 dropped 12 videos on the same day and simply vanished. The videos were about a supposed body in a trash bag whom he called Daisy. The videos were all about Daisy. Daisy arrives, Daisy plays hide and seek, and even Daisy leaves. All of these videos showed cryptic words that together made a poem about 2 homicides that happened inside a church. To this day, only theories remain. The most obvious being about the homicide of Daisy by the parson, with the most far-fetched theory being that this channel is a metaphor of Christmas. 112 Dirtbag. An eerie video of a person laughing that later was theorized to be connected to the disappearance of a missing woman. Mara Murray was a 21-year-old woman. On February 8th, 2004, the day she went missing, Mara emailed her boyfriend and lied to her faculty at school, saying she would leave for a week due to a death in her family that never happened. Mara withdrew money, bought alcohol, and at 7 p.m. would crash her car on Route 112 in Woodsville, New Hampshire. A bus driver who was close would try to offer her help, but Mara pleaded for him not to call the police, since she already had contacted AAA, another lie. The bus driver would eventually call the police to tell them about Mara, but when they got there, Mara was nowhere to be seen. From her car, the only things missing were her phone and credit cards, which weren't used ever since. Despite various theories, she's still missing, with no clues about her whereabouts, only giving room for speculation. One of them being that the channel 112 Dirtbag was linked to her disappearance due to the name and the only video that it had. First, the name of the channel. Mara went missing on Route 112, and Mara's dad called whoever made her disappear in an interview a dirtbag. Lastly, the video that this channel had was posted on the anniversary of her disappearance. Police would follow this lead, with it revealing that Alden Holson was the owner behind 112 Dirtbag channel, but nothing came of it, with him being just an internet troll. DollyFlesh, a now deleted YouTube channel about claymations depicting graphic content. From silly and childish to write-down criminal fantasies. Laketon LaBute, the owner of this channel, aside from idolizing criminals like Pogo the Clown, having a horrible haircut, and making 18+ clay art, Laketon would be known for buying and killing 3 hamsters, which he recorded and posted on several subreddits. Obviously he would be caught, charged with animal cruelty, and for publishing obscene material. However, he only stayed in jail for 3 days, and left with a 3-year probation. Despite leaving the internet for 6 years, he is back again on Twitter and Instagram under the name Fatty Flesh. Streamer stays awake for 11 days. Finally, a light-hearted entry. This entry is from various livestreams made by Norm, where he tried to beat the world record for how many days you can stay awake, which is a horrible idea. Sleep deprivation can have a lot of side effects, and I can say that for sure. After several tries, he eventually managed to stay awake for 11 days with the help of 2 friends and cold showers. The first 24 hours were a breeze, but as the hours increased, so did his struggles. Norm would have constant hallucinations, loss of balance, impaired speech, delusions, and would even lose his grip on reality. It got so alarming that even the police was called to do a welfare check. What makes this entry beat down here is how uncomfortable it is to see someone push themselves to their limit. This even felt like something you would expect to see in a laboratory. Paris Catacombs Lost Man. Beneath Paris exists a 300-kilometer maze of tunnels that were used as ossuaries. These catacombs, to this day, still house the bones of 6 million humans. With the sheer size of the catacombs, it isn't fully mapped, and honestly I don't think it ever will. The unrestricted parts of the tunnels are so big that one could easily lose themselves, even having its own dedicated community. With this said, here on YouTube, there's a video taken from the American reality show Scariest Places on Earth about a man who got lost deep within the unrestricted parts of the Catacombs during the 90s. He's seen analyzing bones until eventually he starts panicking and starts running away, eventually dropping his camera, which continues running until it runs out of tape, with the man's fate being unknown. This footage was eventually found by a cataphile, who then gave it to Francis Friedland. But the question remains, is this fake or real? Station Nightclub and Lame Horse Fire. What was supposed to be a night to enjoy and forget about life's problems turned into a night Rhode Island would never forget. February 20th, 2003. During a concert at the Station Nightclub in West Warwick, the crowd of regulars were excitedly waiting for the Great White Band to start their show. The lights went off and it started. The show would proceed, but seconds later would be stopped by the fireworks that ignited the acoustic foam on the ceiling and walls, causing the whole building to be engulfed in flames in a matter of minutes. 100 people died and 230 were injured that night. This tragedy was caught on video by one of the people in the crowd as a reminder of that haunting night. I'll spare you the boring details, but all sides failed. In the end, Daniel Bichel, the band's manager, and Michael Dadarian, one of the owners of the club, were sentenced to 15 years in prison with only 4 to serve and a 3-year probation, with the last owner, Jeffrey Dadarian, receiving 500 hours of community service. Lame Horse Fire wouldn't be different, with it taking place on December 5th, 2009 in Russia. Sadly, another tragedy involving fireworks that lit the roof on fire, killing 158 people and leaving 78 injured. According to one of the victims, there weren't any firefighters for 20 minutes, with only 2 ambulances present at the time. Once they started pulling people out of the building, those people allegedly laid in the cold asphalt for an hour on a minus 16 degrees Celsius night. And just like the previous fire, all sides failed. There were a lot of sentences, which will be on the screen right now. Illusion of Bias. Illusion of Bias is a short, immersive experience. The video tells us about a story of a 10-year-old girl whose life was never the same after a surgery to remove a brain tumor. I'll be calling her Jane. Due to the early removal, Jane lost the perception of her own face, which led to her being depressed and insecure. Despite this tragedy, Jane would eventually have a wonderful dream where she found a pathway that led her to a geyser. But everything since then came crumbling down. Jane started to feel bad and suddenly woke up, or so she thought. But what if your brain was actually protecting you from your real appearance? Luckily and unluckily, it was all a dream. Roro-chan. Roro-chan was the username of a 14-year-old Japanese girl who took her own life on livestream. For what we know, Roro-chan was a good student who in her time off did live streams, talking, playing piano, allegedly standing on high ledges, and run across roads while cars were passing by. If this wasn't concerning enough, Roro-chan will use the image of a children's anime called Magical Princess Minky Momo, an anime in which the protagonist, Momo, gets run over by a truck. Some of the archives of her videos showed some concerning content, such as Roro-chan with a box on her head, either being silly or as a way of expressing embarrassment, perhaps to her appearance, her crying, and her naming her streams in a derogatory manner. This all leads us to November 17th, 2004. Roro would make a long post on Futaba about her plans for a stream, but apparently would back off of it, or so she said. To simply resume this huge block of text, she wanted to be remembered as a legend in the worst way possible. On November 24th of 2004, Roro-chan would start a livestream where she then walked to her balcony. You can connect the dots. There's various theories on why she did it besides the fame, such as the possibility of her having a mental disability, feeling lonely, or even her getting bullied. But yet, we don't know. This incident would gain a lot of attention, not only for what happened, but also because it was brought back to light in a music video talking about her. Found body in a cooler at the lake. This entry is from a video posted on July 20th, 2020. The video showed a man dragging a cooler that was in the middle of the foliage. Upon dragging the cooler closer to the road, the group noticed that it had tape sealing it, had a horrible smell, and according to the guy dragging it, had maggots. One of the men removed the tape with the help of a knife, revealing what they thought was decomposing meat. And so, they called the police, and the video ends. A pinned comment would later give us an update, saying that it was actually a decomposing baby. There's no way for me to confirm this, since there's no news talking about it. Dolphin Muzzle. Ah yes, another classic. Simply a video showcasing a latex prosthetic of a dolphin muzzle made by North Fur FX. This video was used and abused here on YouTube due to how uncanny it looked without context. Clem Schultz's tornado. On April 9th, 2015, an AF4 tornado with winds passing 300 km per hour would hit the city of Rochelle, Illinois, causing more than $25 million in damages. For those who saw it, the experience would never leave their heads. Clem Schultz was an 85-year-old man who ended up recording the tornado from inside his house. In the video, the tornado would get closer and closer to his home, causing extreme damages to the neighbors and eventually his house. One would immediately think of the worst, that Clem didn't make it. However, Clem would indeed survive with a compressed broken vertebra. But sadly, this tornado would end up killing 2 people, Clem's neighbor and Clem's wife, while injuring 22 in total. Shaye St. John. Not gonna lie, I was kinda uncomfortable while watching Shaye's triggers. Not in a bad way, but like in a confusing way. Shaye St. John was a character created by Eric Fournier, and this madness started through a website called LiveJournal as conceptual art that eventually made its way to YouTube in 2006 before being taken down to multiple violations of YouTube policies. The channel focused on Shaye, who in the lore was a once famous actress that got hit by a train, leaving her severely disfigured, with her choosing mannequin limbs instead of prosthetics. Most of Shaye's triggers are a mind trip on its own, often containing lots of cuts, lore pieces, and weird words. Due to the nature of these videos, several theories exist, such as it actually wanted to portray the abuse in the entertainment industry to an actress stuck in her former glory, while we, the viewers, are seeing the reality. Herrick would eventually pass away on February 25th, 2010. May he rest in peace. Can't sleep, clown will eat me.
Can't sleep, clown will eat me. Can't sleep, clown will eat me.
Joe Burrus. Joe Burrus was an escape artist who wanted to make a name for himself, even aspiring to be better than Houdini. I mean, shoot for the stars, am I right? But when does one define their limits? On October 31st, 1990, Joe would perform a dangerous stunt during a fundraiser event. Joe would be handcuffed inside a plastic glass coffin that would be buried 7 feet underground with dirt and cement. Incredibly dangerous, but at the thought of him succeeding and this stunt skyrocketing his career, Joe was confident. The intention was for Joe to break free while the crew was still pouring the cement, but sadly, it didn't go according to plan. The weight of the dirt and cement would break the coffin, putting all pressure on top of Joe, asphyxiating him. Despite the crew trying their hardest to take him out of there, Joe would be pronounced dead on the scene. Leathersmokemi. This one is depressing. Leathersmokemi was a YouTube channel of a man who posted videos of him constantly smoking, with the first video being him smoking through a mask. Although silly and dangerous, I bet many of his viewers didn't expect this to be constant, probably a one-time thing to start strong, but they would eventually be proven wrong. There were more videos where he appeared smoking in different ways and in big quantities. And for what he said, he liked it, but his addiction would only take the best of him, to the point of developing mouth cancer, which sadly took his life later. There's allegedly a theory where this was all a fact due to the comments, and I mean, it kinda makes sense. Septic 5. Oh god, this one is disgusting. Septic 5 was a series of videos done by an unknown man who paid people to use their septic tank. Yes, you heard it right. This man would use a latex suit and a mask and would simply dive in there and record himself. Dude, let's just move on. She's Still Sleeping. An innocent video that turned morbid real quick. She's Still Sleeping was a vlog posted by Timothy Birmingham on January 24th, 2017. He started the vlog showing his wife that was laying on the bed. Timothy was surprised because it was 12 AM and she was still sleeping, when usually she's already awake. The vlog would proceed as normal, with him thanking his new subscribers and encouraging them to make videos. And just like that, the video would end. Timothy would later find that Penny was dead on their bed. She died in her sleep. Guy eaten by lions. A clip from an Italian Mondo documentary called Savage Man, Savage Beast. The clip that this Iceberg talks about is the death of Pitz Dernitz, a tourist that left his car in Namibia to take a perfect picture of the lions, where he then gets attacked from behind and loses his life right in front of his family. Or so the clip tells us. According to Information and People, this film has a lot of fake scenes, with people thinking that this is one of them by the way that the man reacts while being attacked and by the lion nibbling him. Also, if you search his name, there's nothing about him, not even a single news article. So this could very likely be a fake scene as well, crafted for the sole purpose of scaring people. Markiplier's hospital playthrough. a video that Markiplier deleted. In 2016, Markiplier would post a playthrough of a video game called Hospital. What was supposed to be a lighthearted horror gameplay turned out to be disgusting, but I'm getting ahead of myself. It was like your normal demo, where you played at a abandoned hospital and you were chased by an enemy that could only be seen through your camera. However, the game during specific scenes would show real graphic images of an autopsy and a cartel victim as cheap jump scares. It would even gross Markiplier out, but he wasn't sure if it was real or not, so he would post it. This video would later be removed in July of 2023. John Duncan blind date. John Duncan was a performative artist that I wish I never researched. John, in one of his performances, would make love with a corpse before getting a vasectomy. What the fuck am I doing here? For the better of humanity, there's no video, but only an audio explaining why he did it, while also showing the audio of the deed. For clarification, I just heard him explaining at the beginning. I refused to listen to the rest of the experience. This apparently happened because John wanted to demonstrate how men turn emotional suffering into rage by doing it with a corpse. Yeah, no, I'm out. Scariest picture on the internet. Just a 5-minute long video of a supposed portrait drawn by a Japanese girl before she took her own life. The video claims that viewers have found it hard to stare at for 5 minutes, and that a couple of them have taken their own life after doing so. Classic internet horror story. Upon watching, I just expected the video to throw me a jump scare, but this was a drawing made by Robert Cheng. Texas Church, 2019. On the peaceful morning prayer of December 29th, 2019, the West Freeway Church of Christ in Texas was live streaming the Sunday service. What was meant to be a peaceful worship quickly turned into a horrible memory for those who attended and watched the live stream. A man with a previous criminal record by the name Keith Thomas Kinnunen, who decided to target the church that he attended and had helped him when he was homeless. In the livestream, Keith can be seen wearing all black, a fake beard, and a hat. He then proceeds to tell something to the security staff before pulling out a shotgun and firing at 2 security volunteers before being taken out by 71-year-old Jack Wilson, the head of security, with just 1 bullet. Only 2 people will be forever missed, Tony Wallace and Richard White. Couple drowns in dam. This video shows us a newly formed couple in Yemen playing in the waters of a dam in 2013. Eventually, the men, while going deeper, the ground under the man's feet drops, and naturally, he fights to stay afloat, eventually grabbing his wife, and you can guess what happens next. Video dating tape 010. Still unsure which video this entry is talking about, but I believe that it's from a video posted in 2017 about a VHS tape that came with a VCR bought at a car boot sale. The video showed Tony, a rich entrepreneur that was now looking for somebody to spend the rest of his life with. During the tip we can see bloopers, and we can notice that something is horribly wrong. During some parts, a woman can be heard screaming as if she was kidnapped, and a shot of a random house appears. This very likely is fake. A VHS created with the sole purpose of being sold to expose the previous owner and traumatize the buyer that was posted on a burner account. Mohn's Militia. A video that was removed 5 hours after being uploaded. Justin Mohn was the 33-year-old man who would develop a dangerous mentality against humanity. More specifically, the government, which involved his dad, who worked as a federal agent. One day, Justin would be fired from his job, and that would be his breaking point. Justin would take the life of his father and would cut his head off and show it while recording his manifesto. Police would later be notified about the video by viewers and by Justin's mother upon arriving at their home, only to find her dead husband. Justin would eventually be arrested near a military base and was sentenced to life in prison. And this will do for the first part. I really need a break after this. And while you wait for part 2, why don't you watch this video? Thank you, Pawn, and you, viewer, and take care.